Welcome to Night Shadows. I'm Stuart Best, where the paranormal is normal, where that which you thought you knew, you didn't, and where the future can be known if you know exactly where to look. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Stuart. We have Larry on a major update of the election. Before I get to Larry, though, I wanted to kind of read something I wrote. It's all of this world, and all is vanity. In the end, we all lose. We can prove that America is Babylon the Great. The prophecies against her are all coming down right around us, from open borders and influx of fifth column operatives to people being mad upon their idols, like football and baseball, etc., to total corruption of the government, to military weakness, to our loss of freedoms, to a police state, and all of that is happening right now. Judgment delayed for a long time, but it does arrive. Is Trump the delay? Or is Trump the final warning, the last Trump for America? Does his election mean victory? Or is it the sign of the end for America? We would have healed America, but she would not be healed. To put that faith in man rather than God. The final tablets are now being written. Mene, mene. The writing is on the wall. The deception is now upon us. Something is not right. Something is going on in the background. And watch who Trump surrounds himself with, because many of the names seem to be old establishment and neocons. So do not be deceived, and more than ever, keep your eyes wide open and watch. Hi, Larry. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, Stuart. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, what's your take on... I tell you what, this is kind of an enigma, a mystery as to what's really going on.
Well, it absolutely is, and it's very interesting. It reminds me of the prophecies that we heard years ago that prophetically they talked about, the 44th presidency, the house of the president of the 44th term would be the last. As far as they could see, there was no more houses. And, I've thought so much about that, Stuart, and how that there probably wasn't wrong. They probably just simply wasn't seeing a very strange work. We know that the Lord does strange things sometimes, such as a Mary in the begats. Who could have figured that one out? Such a mystery. And I think we're seeing now a similar ministry. This proves, though, Stuart, I have to say this. This literally vindicates the Torah codes, the Bible codes, the bots, all of these things that have spoken about this occurring. This has happened. This has come to pass, and we now have, looking at Isaiah 45, a 45th president, a new house of the United States. And I don't know whether you saw Michael Bodea's latest report. He sent out one that goes basically parallel to what you said. He says a stay from the execution.
Mm-hmm. So the judgment is still coming. It's just been delayed slightly. But my point is, do we really know who Trump really is? There's something going on here. Because do you remember when George Soros kind of indicated that he had decided to ditch Hillary, sort of make her go away because she had too much baggage? There were some leaked articles about that were being, kind of leaked, that he might not be very happy with her. So here's my problem. The NSA, the CIA, and all the other intelligence agencies were all working to bring in the New World Order. So then the question we have to ask is, why did they all leak these emails to get rid of Hillary? Was it some sort of a smoke screen to make it look all innocent and necessary for the American people to know about all the corruption? Because remember the Lord's hand, he said, I will have that revealed. And You cannot fault Donald Trump for that because that's exactly what he did. But here's the problem. The protocols, which everybody says don't exist but are being fulfilled with 100% accuracy, state that essentially that they bring the world to chaos and then bring in their new world order, which is a new economic, political, and religious order. So then we know about the mark of the beast in the book of Revelation, and we have to know, the government says, who you are. Law and order. Protect Americans. Bring everybody into an ID system, which they've been working on for years. Peace and safety is a phrase that Trump himself has used a number of times. And peace and safety can only happen, really, if you look at it, under a surveillance system. They're talking about biometrics, which, by the way, Trump also said. So where are we in this thing? The Lord definitely has his hand on Trump. There's absolutely no question. Or he never would have made it this far. He'd be dead already. The question we now have, does he get into the White House? What's your take on that possibility that he doesn't ever make it to the White House?
Well, I heard something very telling today. I was listening to, which is interesting, the speech that Hillary Clinton gave today to all her people, and then basically to everyone, I suppose, where she stopped her election and I guess bowed to the Trump presidency, basically. She made a very strange statement that really stuck out to me when she made it, and she was talking about they didn't get what they wanted this time, but there would be other occasions, and she made a very interesting comment. She said, and it may not be long as you think. And that really hit me when she said that, and I thought, what do you really know? It's interesting. And another thing, too, that was very interesting, I was noting one of the individuals talking to Cavuto today, earlier, one of the old heads that's been in politics for years, and they asked him, said, what did Trump really do to swing this election? He said, well, basically, he said Trump went to the middle of the country and found a group of people who really wanted to turn things on their heads. They wanted a revolution, and he became their man. And then he said, who would have thought that this group of people, middle stream America basically, would literally have a rich man come into their midst and lead their revolution and win. And then I thought of Dmitri Duduman's, prophecy, or, you remember he said that a revolution or something starts in the middle of the country. And could we have overlooked that, thinking all along that maybe that was some kind of civil uprising, when basically it was a revolution politically? Okay,
so now let's assume that Trump is absolutely for real. He is Cyrus. He has God's hand on him, and he's been protected throughout all this. So the globalists, the rich men of the earth, have two choices now. One, get rid of him, kill him, or two, attempt to infiltrate the government that he sets up. And there's an article here by Wayne Madsen. I want your take on part of it. They are already crawling out from the political sewers and rathskellers of Washington. Neoconservatives who launched the Anything But Trump campaign are now trying to be nice with President-elect Donald Trump. The bottom feeders will attempt, in typical neocon fashion, to infect the Trump administration, much as they had done with President-elect Ronald Reagan in November of '80. They could do it. He has already listed some names that are definitely neocons. that are definitely old establishment people. And this is what people really got to watch for. Who does he surround himself with? And what's your take on that possibility?
Well, I don't know that I'm really all that concerned in that area because one of the things, the reason for being a Cyrus, Stuart, and this is just my opinion from reading about Cyrus, the reason for being a Cyrus is that you are simply there not to make a system live longer. And you'll remember the Cyrus that defeated Babylon, it ended that kingdom. It ended that Babylonian system.
Yes.
Babylon never rose again, not in the ancient location.
Yes,
but the only
yes.
thing he really did do, Stuart, the only thing Cyrus really did, other than the worldly thing that he did in conquering Babylon, was he released God's people to go build what God wanted built, period. And it was a short period of time, and then guess what happened to them? They didn't do right, they didn't do what they was told, and there was a dispersion, a really big dispersion all across the world. And so it's odd, though, I find it odd that Hillary made that speech today, finally conceding to Trump, and Obama greeted Trump. They did that 70 days exactly before he takes office, 70 days before he swears in. And I went back to Daniel, and I read again some of the situations in Daniel, and oddly enough, I ran across something in one of the books that talks about Daniel, and it said that Daniel was involved in, recording some of the Syrian wars. In other words, the wars of Syria of that ancient time. And what do we have happening in the background that surrounds this election? The Syrian wars.
Yeah, and 70 weeks are determined upon thy people. So we have another 70. And I read somewhere where Trump was born 700 days before the birth, I think it was, of Israel. And he's 70 years old.
70 years old. That's right. Just had a birthday, 70 years old, I think. And all of these numbers are incredible. And insert this real quick. I'd like your opinion on it. We are having a really, really incredible union of some kind that seems to be happening. Medvedev is headed from Russia to Israel to meet with Netanyahu in Israel. You've got Putin giving his blessing on Israel having Jerusalem and the Temple Mount. You've got Trump giving the same message, Israel's Jerusalem and the Temple Mount, and then wants to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. You've got all this moving right now at a time when 70 seems to be coming up like crazy. And is it by chance, is this really the last Trump, so to speak, and a warning for what you're talking about, that time frame? That maybe now we've entered into a time frame and we don't even know the marker. And I was thinking also, and I'd asked you earlier today, really, Cyrus, the biblical Cyrus, was such a mystery that until it occurred, really nobody understood what in the world was going on. And then I guess the Lord wrote Isaiah 45 so we would know exactly what was happening. And maybe that preceded a second prophetic fulfillment of that in not the people of Israel, so to speak, in other words, the Jews, but it occurs in the church at the time of the church, and it is a stay of execution, which usually a stay of execution in law enforcement terms means that, they may be just putting it off a few days or a week or two. A stay is not like giving you 50 years. A stay is usually brief, and could this be what's going on now? And I know that a lot of and I'll say this and won't be long, I know that a lot of people out there prophetically and patriotically are now breathing a sigh of relief and really letting their guard down now. They think everything's took care of, but this is not a time to let your guard down. this is the time to redeem the time of that window of delay that we have and get the job done, because what it is, it's a marker that we're really, literally, as mankind on planet Earth, we're running out of time.
Yeah, and this whole thing kind of reminds me of Esther, who got a delay. Now, the New World Order had already got the noose around the Christians' neck. They have their FEMA camps going, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden now that may be dismembered, at least for a while, or put on hold. And I just remember how Esther prepared herself, went before the king, got favor. And, of course, you know the story of the noose went around the perpetrators rather than the so theoretical victims that they had in mind. And that reminded me kind of the New World Order and how they had planned, actually, as Psalm 2 says, to kill off all the Christians. And so maybe we have a reprieve here. What do you think?
Well, something to think about too, Stuart. I've been walking and really thinking this out, and there are occasions when I can actually think, and this seemed to be one of those days. And I was thinking that ironically, the rich men have a choice now, and maybe this is what has pushed them into this choice. And the rich men, they failed. Basically, the wild cards have tripped them up. In other words, Netanyahu in Israel, Putin in Russia, El-Sisi in Egypt, Trump now in America, if that comes through like it's supposed to. The rich men really are running out of options. What they have apparently tried to put together simply as clay, and the rich men, well as I do, Stuart, they want to put this together and they want to be the ultimate rulers set over it. However, maybe because of being tripped up now by the wild cards, is it possible that the unseen hand was operating, and I'm talking about from heaven, operating, moving the wild cards around in the deck? Maybe now they have to go to the alien card, the arrival.
That's what the Clinton campaign people said they were going to do. Now, maybe they weren't talking about the election. They thought they had that in the bag, so they could spring that at any time now before January 20th. If you had an arrival, that'd be the end of it. Or if we got into a war. I notice here Russian warships chase away NATO submarine in the Mediterranean.
We've got problems.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say we've got problems there. We've got a flame point in the Middle East right now. We've also got the Baltics, which is really a problem. We've got North Korea rattling and about to set off another test ballistic missile. We understand. I mean, I don't know for sure, but it's looking that way. But by the way, another thing, the CME that we were warning about and talking about, and really the whole world was concerned about, even Ed Dames sent out a post on it, that was supposed to arrive Election Day. For some odd reason, Stuart, I read today from NOAA and Space Weather, and they say it was tardy getting here. Something caused the delay, and it came in late.
Now, I wonder who did that. I don't know. People just don't get it. Anyway, here's an article from Tweetmeyer, which is kind of interesting. I'm only going to read a little bit of it. Clearly, he says, there is something afoot here, and no one is talking. If some horrific event occurred on the scale of 9/11 or larger, or several events occurred in different cities simultaneously, America would immediately be put under martial law by Obama, and that would automatically allow Obama to remain as president until he voluntarily steps down or cancels the martial law. Now, that's actually true. That could be what part of this is about. What do you think?
Well, I think that right now people shouldn't really roll over and go to sleep We need to be aware of the circumstance. We still need to be watchful. I'm warning, all of the intercessors and prayer warriors, continue to pray. Don't just, shut down the house and turn the light out and, go on vacation now because Trump won. There's more to this, I do believe, than we're seeing. And, you remember how they say the rich men, they have a plan A, a plan B,
yep.
or plan C. They plan way ahead.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they do. What do you make of, I've only got 30 minutes, so U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry heading to Antarctica. He's there during the election. What's going on down there? There's something going on down there that he would be on an election night when we've had the Pope down there. We've had all these other people down there. What do you think is going on down there?
I don't know, but I have heard that you can probably either photograph or see the destroyer better from that location than anywhere on the planet. So I don't really know what he's doing down there. I can't imagine that he's visiting the embassy in Antarctica.
Yeah, probably not. So here's another headline. Breaking. On election night, the FBI just destroyed Hillary Clinton's dreams. Every single agent is now focused on public corruption at the FBI. I know you brought that up. What's the deal there?
I don't know that anybody knows where this is going from. This is being done, I believe, deep within the establishment. There are some that are saying that the establishment are coming back out from their hideaways, the Bushes, the Clinton, of course we know where they are, but, the old heads, and they're coming out from undercover and probably trying to join ranks with the winner, I would imagine, and we just need to pray,
protection.
Trump is visiting with Obama tomorrow. And I've already been in intercession and been covering his mind with the blood of Jesus and
yes.
asking the Lord to give him wisdom and grant him wisdom, if he's to continue further along. And we know that the overtures of peace and safety from the Obama administration, we know how deadly that can be.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and by all means, everyone should be praying for Donald. For that exact reason, he's going into the house of the enemy. Yeah. And I'm not sure he's fully protected. Because like Cyrus, he doesn't really know the Lord. And the Lord really, is working a one-way street here. Stay of execution. This is from, what's his name? Can't think of it now.
Michael Badea.
Yeah, Michael. A stay of execution does not a pardon make. I realize that for the individual being walked up to the gallows, I'm going to skip part of that, but what happened in America last night was a stay of execution. It was not a pardon. We must be very clear about this because I know as I surely am sitting here that the voices will begin to chirp anew, insisting that God has somehow forgiven a nation and that never repented of its sins, and that he somehow restored a nation that has never humbled itself. And just because we managed to dodge a protracted, painful, and pernicious suicide by political correctness last night, it does not mean we have somehow come into fellowship with God anew as a nation. It simply means that God has shown this nation grace. He has stayed its judgment for a season. So how long that delay is going to be, I guess we don't know, do we?
No, I don't believe that we do, and I don't know anybody that can really say right now. What has occurred, Stuart, is I've seen it. This is a mystery. This is almost like Mary and the Begats. This is something man wasn't prepared for. You couldn't have told us a few years ago, Stuart, that a Cyrus the Persian king would arrive in America and become the president, could you? We didn't even know fully what all the verses were about.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the Lord, as you said, does work in very mysterious ways, and it almost is like He's giving a slight pardon for time, anyway, for Americans to reassess. But you know what? We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. So I don't look for any great long delay in Donald Trump. I just have that awful feeling that the judgment and the noose around America's neck is just laying there, but the Lord may be very busy sawing off the legs of the chair that America's standing on. So, you know, it's kind of a deal where you kind of wonder, okay, he's given us a delay, but as you said, boy, now is the time to not ever be going to sleep. Now is the time to be more wide awake than ever before, because there's definitely there's something going on in the background here we just don't know about. How say you on anything before we close out tonight?
Oh, yeah, I agree, Stuart. We need to be ever more watchful. This has been an incredible experience, and I was talking to the Lord today and told Him that I really appreciated being around during this Cyrus, the Persian king event in America. This has been exciting to me, but it's been also troublesome, a lot of grieving and a lot of prayer and intercession. But I'll tell you what, Stuart, it reminds me of the Lord pushing one grain of sand back up into the hourglass. There's only one grain there. How long will that last? Yeah, a good point. Does the delay last to 70 days? Does it last 7 months? It certainly can't go for very long, because then we run into timelines in which a lot of the delays have already been built in, and we have a number of scripture that talks about a delay, and we've had some delays already. So, just how much of a delay more we're going to get? Do you think? Here's my take. I think people really ought to watch the neocons and the old establishment around Trump and see who he selects and what he does do. That's going to be a very telling situation. Do you agree or not? No, I agree. I think we need to watch very closely, especially what the establishment Republicans begin to do to try to join in with the Trump movement. They're coming out of the shadows now, and it's very important. We need to be watchful. Yeah, because they really do seem to be coming out of the cracks down there in Washington. And even Obama was very gracious, as was Hillary. And that's always a tip-off that something's wrong when you're dealing with those kind of people. So, anyway, how do people get a hold of you, Larry? Quickest way is my blog, LarryWTaylor.org. That's LarryWTaylor.org. Yeah, we really appreciate all the posting and whatnot you're doing, because most people aren't really doing that. They're just posting, little headlines here and there, but you're really keeping on top of this whole thing. I suppose we're probably going to be in for a whole bunch of surprises, don't you think? Coming few days now? I wouldn't be surprised. Keep one eye open at least. Good advice. Well, folks, thanks for listening, and do, in fact, keep your eyes wide open. Don't let this fool you. There's something in the wind. We just don't know what it is. Anyway, thanks for listening, and good night. We'll see you Friday.